Welcome to the InFlow podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the InFlow podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. I'm excited to come to you all today with an amazing guest. Her name is Sara Larkins. I have the privilege of, knowing her from our coaching program. She's a land flipper, but prior to being a land flipper, she was also an educator. She is a technology leader. And I am excited to bring her here and talk about, living with passion, living with purpose, and about really, when life gives you lemons, how to get back up and, start living life take two, as she likes to call it. So without further ado, welcome, Sara, to the InFlow podcast.
Hey, Michelle, thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's exciting. So tell me a little bit about your background, Sara. I know I mentioned, you're an educator, and maybe we want to start a little bit with background as to how did you grow up around money? And what makes you go into an educator first, and then the next pivot was into technology, and now into land flipping. Just give us an idea of basically your background and what's your story?
My story's very long.
We can all learn from it, I'm sure.
For sure. How did I grow up around money? Okay, so I'm one out of 7 children. My father actually was an entrepreneur. He owned his own construction company, which was really, exciting and thrilling because he was creatively gifted man, a craftsman. I really enjoyed my time with him on the job sites, like driving the backhoe and digging a sewer line and putting shingles on a roof by the time I was 10, with a hydraulic gun. It was just how I could have time with my father when I had my siblings. The positives were it was really creative and really wonderful. The negative sides were that it ebbed and flowed according to the small Midwestern town that we lived in. So there were some times very lean, and there was also times when the economy had hit his business very hard.
Yeah.
And at a pivotal time in my mental development, it really left me with a severe poverty mentality. Mm-hmm. And I was left to my own devices in undergraduate school, and I've known severe poverty. So it was, since pretty hard times. So we're talking not enough to eat and no heat in the winter, things like that. But just really persevered because there was no going back. So that's how I went through my formal education. And then let's see, where do we go from here? So I got my master's in special education, and I did that for 12 years. It became really unsustainable financially, and it was emotionally difficult because the education system of the United States is not supportive of its teachers. And I was teaching South Central, which was really an amazing, wonderful experience. I was in the Rodney King riots. That was not a wonderful experience. So I decided to follow my passion. So what had happened to me in between those times was when I had a minor car accident that led to the threat of quadriplegia
Oh, wow.
which led to immediate neurosurgery, which led to double staph infection, which led to going septic, 108 fever, seeing people who weren't there. Well, no one else saw them. I saw them. Developing a sense of smell. I would say like a dog. I don't know what a dog smells like, but when your sense of smell is so heightened, it was really amazing. So I went through that, and then I went through an awakening one morning, knowing that my vital organs were going to shut down one by one. I don't know why I knew. The medical staff could not interpret what was happening until by the end of the day, after saying this mantra, my vital organs are going to shut down one by one. By the end of the day, I'm going to be dead. And I just kept saying it over and over. And then my eyes went back in my head, and that was my first organ to go. So I called the staff in. They brought in a doctor. The doctor, I could see from my peripheral vision. Doctor did something I'd never seen before. He ran. Doctors don't run. Gave me a shot to counteract all the drugs. They had overdosed me. So from that experience, coming out of that experience, as soon as I was back to being extremely sick and getting better, I decided that's when I was taking my life take two. I abandoned everything I was doing, and I decided to pursue everything, because nothing could have been more difficult than going to the precipice of your life and having another shot like that.
Yeah,
so
coming
that
to
just guided everything in my life. It's just changed everything.
Yeah,
it's very
definitely put things in perspective and shows you what is essential, what is non-essential, and what and gives you tremendous focus into focusing on what the main thing is, and is for us to come here and enjoy and experience and have a wonderful life in spite of all the ups and downs, and keeping that perspective. I was very right now intrigued by you waking up that morning and knowing, having an inner knowing about your body and what it was going through, and the medical staff then confirming that they had overdosed. There's this incredible wisdom of the body that I think sometimes we get so disconnected from just wanting to live up here in our head, and it saved your life, in terms of knowing that this was happening in the beginning. As you were saying, just telling the story, I thought, oh my gosh, maybe this will become a fulfilling prophecy. It would have become a fulfilling prophecy, but it was all about you tuning into your body wisdom and knowing, that either you needed to, like you did, ask for help, and bring in someone else's perspective to kind of recognize that they had made a mistake. You know what I mean? So, this is an incredible, like you said, life-threatening situation and incident. But so many times I think us as women also forget to tune in and check in with the body. And, we have wake-up calls, as far as abusing our bodies and not giving ourselves generously like we give generously to others as well. So anyway, so thank you so much for sharing that. That is, I did not know that, Sara. That gives me an incredible appreciation for the fortitude, the strength, and just what you mean now by, my life take two, for sure. Now, I know you mentioned that you're a big believer of following your passion and purpose. And so why land flipping? How did this come into your universe?
That's a great question. Well, now that you understand the backstory, you understand that all of my let's use the metaphor of a stream of water, all come from the well that is from my, that incident that waked me up to actually the gift of how short your life is.
Yeah.
So that's really honestly a gift, because if you lived forever, there would be no motivation to do anything.
Yeah. And most of us live like, and walk this earth like we have forever, and we don't.
Right. And so I after that incident went after everything. I mean, I was an actor and here in LA, and I received awards, and I got tired of it. I just moved on. I've always moved on and went, what interests me? What do I like? And I would just go for it. And I would just not really particularly care if well, that's not true, because I'm incredibly bullheaded and I'm very egotistical. And I'm also pretty human. So I actually forget my own profound judgment calls on experience quite often. But I'm going to go towards something that I think it interests me, that I can understand it intellectually. And the land flipping, when I found you and Jack online, I was searching for the next thing. What do I want to do next? I enjoy IT custom app development. It's really thrilling. It's very creative. It's really fun. I enjoyed a lot. But then it came as this to be my side hustle. And I just sort of fell into the well of the possibility, because it really brought me into, this could be a vehicle that could provide me what I'm looking for as far as what are my next steps. I could be in the last third of my life. What do I want to do? So it really brought up lots of conversations with my husband and I. And, we have some pretty gigantic goals. So
that's beautiful. I'm excited to hear about those. And, now tell me a little bit about the hurdles that you have experienced in land flipping, because just like there's, a lot of success and a lot of accomplishment and deals done, especially within our community. It also comes, with hurdles and challenges. Nobody sometimes wants to talk about them, but, the success in itself has inside of it, I always say, stored in it, the failures, the sacrifices, the victories, everything in it. So tell me a little bit about the hurdles starting out and some of the successes as well.
Sure. Well, my husband and I have previously been entrepreneurs, and we owned a corporation for 17 years, and we had a couple of DBAs. So I had the experience of knowing what it's like to start up.
Yeah.
Starting off is brutal. It's 7-day work week or 6 months. It's, it's learning.
It's all in. It's a warrior mentality. It's almost, I always think of it from the point of view of leadership, that it's a leadership style that is basically on constant crisis mode, because you feel like you're on a constant crisis because you're learning something new at every step, and every step is like, it feels like coming from the left, coming from the right, and you're having to constantly be on top of it. So you're right. A startup. It is brutal. It's not for the faint of heart, for sure. Yeah. So continue.
I think that the thing that gets me through, and the advice that I would give someone, would be, you simply have to outlive it.
Yeah.
You simply have to last longer than your bad dreams of failing and your frustrating phone calls. And like somebody yesterday, I accepted a contract. We went to look at the land because it happened to be nearby, and none of the things that he said were true. So I sent him an addendum to close. I mean, the guy opened an email and he closed an email and went, "Thanks for wasting my time." And you have to take those things on the chin. It's simply, you're not going to make everybody happy. And that is the metaphor for life. You have to live your life for yourself. I'm following the path of the land flipping for my own goals.
Yeah.
Not for someone else's approval, not for someone to like what I'm doing, you're going to deal with frustrating clients. You're going to people that don't follow through. Your server's going to crash. Your computer's not going to restart. There's going to be so many aggravating things, but you simply have to outlive it. And there are plenty of days where I just have to call my husband, who's my partner, and okay, I did these 25 things today. Tell me it's enough. You're a Trojan, you're a stallion, you're a maniac, you're a nut. Stop working.
Yeah.
So, got to manage your own mind.
Yeah, you have to, absolutely. This is that is a profound statement that you just said. You just have to outlive basically and embrace the suck that comes from the beginning. Absolutely, that's it, and that's where most people give up. Tell us about some of the successes that you've had.
Okay. Well, first of all, I love the success of keeping my own schedule.
Uh-huh.
I love the success of helping people when what we're doing is actually helping people. Recently, I have been working with people in the South, and I love it when they say, "Oh, God bless you," and I'm like, "Well, thank you. I'll stop and I'll take that blessing." Mm-hmm. I love the $40,000 checks. I love the $31,000 check that's coming next week. Yeah, I love learning so much. I tell you, Michelle, I was on this drive with Jack, and I was like looking at the scenery. He goes, "Oh, look, it's so beautiful." And I was like, but I keep seeing like assessor lines on all of these mountains. You know, the line drawings from the assessor maps.
I know. It's basically, I remember us before we got into land flipping, driving, to Las Vegas. We had just moved here to Phoenix, and, I hadn't been to Vegas, and I'm like, let's go. And we drove out there, and I remember seeing a whole bunch of nothing, Sarah, just like nothing, like tumbleweed, raw desert, for 5 hours or almost, 5.5 hours straight, and thinking, who in the world lives here? And then fast forward, I had already graduated, I had started working, and now we were land flippers, and now doing that exact same trip to Las Vegas. And at every single moment, it was like, oh my God, ka-ching, ka-ching. I see a subdivision right there. Those are probably, $10,000, spreads right there, and, this is gold here, that we're driving through. And in fact, one of the subdivisions up there in Mojave County here in Northern Arizona between, Maricopa County and Clark County in Las Vegas is Mojave County. It's full of what they call Golden Valley Ranchos. It's a subdivision. And I'm like, yeah, it has been gold, but when you first, if you're not into it, you think it's a whole lot of nothing, and who in the world would live there, and question, the opportunity, that is there, that you're not the market, that there's people out there that actually love that. I know there's this cute little town here in Chloride, Arizona, also in Mojave County, of just artists. And it's this tiny little town, and we discovered it because we came, into a piece of land that happened to have a mobile home. We had never had a mobile home be as part of one of the transactions. So we're like, okay, this is possibly one that we should go out and look and see if this is a liability, or if this is something that we don't want to, have to deal with or ask the seller to remove before. As it turns out, it needed minor repairs, and we were able to go ahead and, sell both the mobile home and the lot, and using seller financing, and it was beautiful. But yeah, when I first drove through that, and we weren't in the land space, and flipping and investing, it just looked like a whole bunch of nothing. But there's people out there that want to be there. Now, tell me a little bit about I love that. I love, your servant heart when you said, that you're there to help people. And that's it. Connecting, like humans with another human versus seeing it as just a pure transaction. You now having the opportunity to relieve somebody of the burden of property ownership, that person blessing you. It's a constant win, on the seller side, on the buyer side for you, that are bringing a solution to a rather illiquid market and therefore being compensated and creating a win for you as well, a triple win. When we started right now, you told me, or, I was telling you that I was reading in your bio that you consider yourself a, spiritual wise woman. What do you mean when you say that? Because I can kind of like, implicitly understand, especially right now when you just said, I love right now working with people in the South and they say, God bless. And I take it in, So tell me, what do you mean by, being a spiritual wise woman?
Well, the near-death experience took me to coming out of recovery from that. I was awakened to an incredible awareness about the fact that the whole time that I was facing the overdose, that nobody knew what was going on, I felt an innate, incredible urgency to get out of my body, that my body was going to die by the end of the day. And if I didn't get out of it, I was going to be dead. And prior to that, I was, completely submerged in academia. I got 2 undergraduate majors and minors at the same time, and my master's and 4 teaching credentials at the same time. And nothing like that had ever occurred to me. And, but after that, I was left with an incredible, insatiable need to spiritually quest. So I just started pursuing every avenue of spiritual practice that I could for at least the first 5 years after that. Constantly going to meditation services. I've done Native American sweat lodges probably no less than 100 times. Since Vision Quest, even when I was pregnant with my daughter. Just mantras, sweats, healers, everything, anything that was available. I did it to find myself, basically, is what I was doing. I was like, number one, it was, why did you save me? Like, how did I know? There was a Vanity Fair article the next month after I got through that. And it was about a woman who did not know she was dying if she got OD'd in the hospital, exactly like I did. Why did I have the awareness? Why didn't she? So I just went through like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And from that, I received some messages and I've just moved on them. And even in the land flipping business every day, and going through my day, if I'm going to walk past somebody, I'm just going to go, good morning. Or, or I'm talking to someone on the phone who's going to go see a piece of my property. I'm like, well, travel safely. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. I just feel like the tone in my voice, I can be a positive nanosecond in their life. And I know for a fact that adds up for them. It doesn't really matter what it does for me, but it's going to make them feel better. And so I also counsel people professionally in coaching, and I mentor college girls. And that also ties into our goals, which I'm sure you're going to come around to asking me, which is our goals. Our goals through land flipping. And here's where I have to take the leap of faith, just like everybody else. I mean, we made X amount of money this last year. Okay, we got 8 deals. That's not as many as I would like to have. But I have to say to myself, shut up. Like monkey mind, cut it out. So, but we made $88,000. And I'm like, okay, I want $88 million because I want to create a foundation to help women become more financially aware. I want to scholarship underprivileged young ladies, especially women of color, those that are not represented well in our country, and then also LGBTQ, young adults. I already have a podcast with another friend. We're two moms, and we just tell kids, you're perfect the way you are, and we have that on YouTube, and we're pretty goofy. But
that's amazing. So what's the name of that podcast?
Well, we haven't done it since COVID because she won't let me come over.
Okay.
It's called Sara and Amanda's Queer Kid Roundup. And we always go, welcome to Sara and Amanda's Queer Kid Roundup. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get contacted from all over the world, kids who are near suicide. And we're like, we're not psychologists, but we're just trying to tell you that we love you. You are whole and perfect. It'll get better. Go talk to a responsible adult that will help you. Just trying to validate life is so short. And,
yes.
And if I can serve in any way, and I like being bossy.
That's good. I know that a lot of the characteristics that I embody have been called bossy in the past, and I have been rejected for those, and I have been able to reframe those and use those as the reasons for really our success, my success, So I like the boss part and the being bossy part. It just means executive leadership skills on my mind, and we just need to see it that way. Now, how are you cultivating? I know you mentioned mantras, Native American lodges, that you've done quite a bit of, meditation, but how do you bring basically faith and presence, or the one thing that has brought more of that to you on a daily basis, so that you can basically, whatever's coming your way, use this maybe technique or tool as an anchor to help you get over, whatever actual situation you have at hand, in the land flipping space, or stories that we may be telling ourselves inside our heads.
Sure. I think if it's one thing I know for sure, it's that every single moment is full of pure potential. Every single moment in isolation of itself is pure potential. So if I can remember the truth that every moment, anything positive or anything negative or anything can happen, then I can say to myself, okay, this isn't working, but I remember the truth. And the truth is that pure potential is in this moment now.
What do you do to catch yourself though? Because we could go down that rabbit hole of the negative story, but what is the pattern interrupt that you use?
I have recently been, I would say of the last several months, I've been listening to a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And Joe talks about, now I'm a real science nerd, so that was actually the hardest thing for me to do, to embrace my spirituality, because I'm like the reluctant spiritual person. But the science in neuroscience and neuroepigenetics is about how you bring your baggage, and it has an effect not just on your mind, but that's stored in the body, in your cells.
Yeah.
And so I have been disciplining myself several times a week, which is hard because I'm doing land flipping all day, and doing a 2-hour meditation is not really too conducive. But
I know, yeah.
Yeah. But if I want to front load my future and not bring the bags in the backpack, then I need to take the time. So I will also institute quick things. Can be I'll catch myself getting frustrated or going into a negative place, and I will say, change. I'm not going to bring the old stuff. I'm going to change. And like yesterday, I lost an entire hour of work doing, putting up some sites, some land on some sites. And I was so frustrated. The whole thing just dumped after an hour. It was massively frustrating. So the second thing I do is I exercise every day, 7 days a week. I've taken up mountain biking ride. I'm mountain biking now. Started doing this. But I have to exercise in order to keep the monkey mind in the cage.
And move the body. And, and we forget that just like we can affect the body with the mind, that we can affect the mind with the body too, that it goes both ways. So yeah, I like that. I have actually just started a new, program with one of the actually coaches inside of our coaching, program recommended a friend. She's a nutritionist and trainer as well. And that commitment of, she's like, it doesn't have to be an hour. It can just be 15 to 20 minutes, Michelle, but give yourself some love, 15 to 20 minutes every day to do something that, you enjoy, whether it be biking, hiking, walking, whatever it is, but just do something and putting it in every day, to move the body to, like you said earlier, there's so much that is stored trauma in the body, and whatever circumstances are coming at us and our responses to them, positive and negative, everything is being stored in the body. And we forget how important it is to move. I've also been experimenting with dance and just as a way to basically keep the 15, 20 minutes enjoyable and pursuing my joy, you know what I mean? And making sure that I don't get bored. And it's just, as a Latina, I have been enjoying that. I have been reconnecting with my Latin roots a bit. And so important. I appreciate that. So now, for a lady that is starting right now and maybe in her take 2 of her life career, maybe because, she may have decided to get her foot off the gas to, raise a family, or is ready to make a pivot, is unhappy perhaps in a corporate job or whatever, what piece of advice would you have for anyone starting out and that would, that is looking at land investing and land flipping as a true career opportunity, a vehicle to create wealth? What would be your piece of advice?
Well, the first thing that I would advise would be on a personal note. So on a personal note, I would say to each woman, even though I think we're drawn to multitask and we are drawn to take care of everything, you have to prioritize, and you have to prioritize yourself. This is a big issue for me, and it's been a hard one to prioritize myself. I raised my little brother and my little sister. I was raised to be a caretaker. But you have to put yourself first, and you have to expand your life, not just for yourself. Let's say, for example, I want to expand my life for me because I'm acutely aware of how finite it is, but I'm a great role model for my daughter and my son because they see me expanding. They see us not being afraid. They see us going all in, working 7 days a week, getting up at 5 a.m, arguing about comps, whatever it is that we're doing, we're a role model for them. And we showed them that, number one, we're dedicated. Number two, we know it's hard. Number three, we do it anyway, because number four, we're only going to fail if we stop, and we're not going to fail. Yeah, so I would advise her to prioritize herself, decide if this is something she wants to go into, Go all in, get a coach. You need some backup. Nobody needs to go into anything alone. I know it's expensive, but it's worth every minute to save you the time, the judgment, the self-questioning, the being pulled to like, I really should start dinner and then I'll make that comp. And then, I have to take my kids somewhere. You have to think of yourself, not be afraid, and getting over the failure. Like, okay, that failed. Oh, well, like really, what can I gain from that? What's the mistake that I made? Okay, just learn the mistake. Let go. Otherwise, you're just going to be swimming in failure, and nobody wants to swim in a sewer. Let's go in the fresh water.
Absolutely. Blue ocean. Totally. Sara, it has been so wonderful, spending time with you right now here on InFlow. If anyone that is listening, wants, is inspired by your story, wants to reach out, how can anyone reach out to you?
Sure. Well, I'm on Facebook, Sara Larkins on Facebook. I also have an email account, saralarkins2@gmail.com.
Okay.
And you can always find me in the LPG Facebook page.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually having right now, coming up on March 15th, we're having a 5-day masterclass. So if you are listening to this, you have never had, the opportunity to attend one of those. We are basically bringing you through a journey of not just education, but actual implementation during those 5 days that with all the bonus sessions really turn into more like a whole week. And we would love to have you. You can register at landprofitmaster.com. We start March 15th. All the sessions are at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for about 60 to 90 minutes. You'll have homework based on the content that we cover, and it's basically our opportunity to get someone that may be looking into land flipping to get a taste, get some quick wins, start creating momentum and motion towards getting your first deal, and really, create that, that runway to see if this is something that you want to consider as a real career opportunity where you're going to actually, like, Sara just explained, going to be all in and going to treat it like a professional and not like an amateur that, based on how, the mood that you wake up with decides on whether you're going to do comps or not, but like a true professional that is, all in. They're fantastic. We have amazing feedback from, these master classes. And so we would love to, invite you and have us join us there. Sara, thank you so very much. I'm excited because I get to see you 2 times today, inside of our Land Profit Coaching Program. We are kicking off today our very first women's only monthly call. And it's been something that, along with another of our, women in our community, Jonah Cohen, who has also been here on InFlow, we've been working on. And it's, I was, talking to her that it feels like a small, humble beginning, but hey, if you don't have faith in the small, how can, the big vision that we have for this, community within the Land Profit Generator, I would say, family, thrive and expand and grow. So, I'm excited. I will see you later on. And thank you so much for being here on InFlow today, Sara. I greatly appreciate it.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.